the practice of insights along with meditation. And the first thing to say is that insight is not a separate type of meditation. This is one of the anomalies which have occurred in modern Buddhism, where people say insight meditation is the way to become enlightened, and they thereby degrade sort of the practice of jhanas. That is not true. That is not how the Buddha taught. How the Buddha actually taught is that insight, which we call yatha bhuta jnana dassana, literally means seeing things as they truly are, is always caused by stillness, by samadhi, especially by jhanas. And it's always been the traditional way taught by the Buddha to get the mind still into these deep states of meditation first, and then you get the insight. And it's not something you do, it's something which happens. So this idea that people come along and say, oh yeah, we do samatha first and then we do vipassana, that is completely against the Buddha's teachings. That is one of those superstitions which has arisen mostly from Burma, I would say, in recent years, which has no credibility at all. And I think you should have understood by now, those of you who have got into some peaceful meditations, that the calmer you are, the more you see, the deeper you see. And especially if you had some experience of the deep meditations, you will realize for yourselves that just with an ordinary mind, it's not awake enough, it's not alert enough to really understand things. But when the mind is very, very strong, then you can see things. In particular, the job of this meditation is to not only just let go of the body, but also to what they call abandoning the 5 hindrances. One of those hindrances is doubt. I talked about that yesterday with the simile of being in a mist, and always making sure you go into more peaceful, more calm, more awake. You must be going in the right direction. The other ones are restlessness and sloth and torpor. Restlessness is you're moving around so much you don't spend enough time looking at things to really understand. I mentioned there by holding up the stick, if you think it's a stick, you go onto something else, you don't look long enough to be able to see what's really there. You need to be still for the mind to actually go into something and really see it. And of course, if you have sloth and torpor, if you're dull, you don't see anything anyway. And of course, the remedy for both sloth and torpor and restlessness is learning how to be still by letting things be. And the main 2 hindrances, which stop you seeing things clearly, are desire and ill will, the first 2 hindrances. Because when you have desire, any sorts of craving or wanting, you don't see what's there, you see what you want to see. And when you have any ill will, again you don't see what's really there, you're in denial. If you're very angry with somebody, you'll never see any good qualities in them. Sometimes you talk to people and they're going through a divorce, and they keep on saying, why did I ever marry that person? I must have been crazy. Yes, you were crazy. Because when you fell in love, you only could see the good things in people. And when you get divorced, you can only see the bad things in people. And I look at both people, they had the same good qualities and bad qualities, when they were going out together. They have the same good qualities and bad qualities when they split apart. They're exactly the same. It's only that you don't see what you don't want to see. And that is a good expression of why it is that sort of people are deluded. Even more simple things, your own physical health. Now I remember reading a book, say like heart attacks. You don't just get a sudden heart attack. The body gives you many warnings, many, many times, before you get the big heart attack. But the thing is, you deny, it's not a heart attack. No, it's not me, I don't get heart attacks. You're in denial. Or, please excuse me, breast cancer. Sometimes, there may be a little lump there. No, it's nothing, it's not the real thing. And because we're in denial, we don't want to see it. Quite understandably, it's terrifying to have a cancer in your body. Because we keep rejecting it, no, we haven't got it, it means by the time you actually do go to the doctor, it's pretty serious. You can see how ill will, denial, and wanting actually bend the truth. And that's just in ordinary things of life. And you can imagine, I just remember reading in the newspaper about the election in the United States. Apparently Mitt Romney was surprised that he lost. He really thought he was going to win. And it's a good reflection of wishful thinking. All the polls told him he was going to lose, but because wishful thinking, he wanted to win. That's all he could see, and he was surprised when he lost. Now this is actually what happens, that desire and ill will are the big enemies which bend the truth. So if you're going to get insight, see the truth, not what you want to see, not in denial for what's scary and what is sometimes challenging to you. You have to let go of all desire and ill will. In other words, just be mindful and be kind. Make peace, be kind, be gentle. You see, not only is this getting into deep meditation, it's suppressing these hindrances which keep bending the truth. And if you haven't suppressed those hindrances, whatever you see, you can't trust. I've often given talks that all these ideas which you have, which I have, all these teachings which you read in books, it's not just different religions. Even within Buddhism, there's so many different ideas which people come across. Even in the Thai tradition, monks like me say after Nibbana there's nothing left. I'll say, no, there's the original mind. How can there be so many different ideas? And more importantly, which one can you trust? Should you trust Ajahn Brahm or Ajahn Mahabua or somebody else? Who should you trust? And the thing is, you can't trust anybody. Simply because whenever you've got a little bit of craving or a little bit of ill will, you're always going to bend the truth. The only thing you can trust is when all of that ill will and craving has been suppressed. You're so still, there's no desire left, nor is there any ill will or fear. So you see what's really there, without bending the truth to fit you. Which is why I keep saying, before at least nimitta stage or jhana, any insights which you have, any great ideas, you cannot trust. You don't know. You could be just bending the truth to fit yourself. There's still the activity of desire and ill will going on. And it's always the case. Why? As the Buddha kept saying, one of the jobs of the deep meditation is to overcome these bending of perception and thoughts and view. Overcome the hindrances. And the Buddha kept on saying, most clearly in the Nalakapana Sutta, he said, only through the jhanas can you overcome these 5 hindrances which stop you seeing wisdom. Can you overcome them so they don't remain for a while? You love to get that window of clear seeing. Even the case that sometimes I've encouraged some of you who've got very deep meditation to ask the question, what's my earliest memory? To see if you can get into your past lives. The thing is, if you try that too early, and even if you do get a vision, you cannot trust it. Because the mind has still got hindrances, they still bend the truth. But if that happens after jhanas, because those hindrances, the things which bend the truth, are absent, my goodness, you can trust that. That's real. Real experience, at last, something you can rely on. Not books, not teachings from a monk like me or from another monk or another nun, but real stuff which is free from the hindrances. That's what you can trust. And to me that gave me a method. Which religion, which part of Buddhism, which part of the part of Buddhism which I was following could I really trust? How could I really know? And that became the way of knowledge of the Buddha. Get jhanas, overcome these 5 hindrances, and then all the bending of perception disappears. Another example of that. Some of you, when you're meditative, have come across fear. Fear because you just don't want to see what's going on there. Because we all like to live in our comfort zone. We're used to our defilements, to our way of doing things, the way we think. And there was this old simile. This is from the sutras. It shows that the Buddha did have a sense of humour. The simile of the two people who went to go and see if they can find their fortune in a country which had been abandoned because of some disaster. It's like people going looting, but this was legitimate. So they went to this town and they both found some hemp, which you could make sort of rope or cloth from. So it was all abandoned, it was for free, so they carried a bundle of hemp each, thinking that they would be able to make some money from that when they get back. And then on the way, they saw some hemp cloth. And one guy thought, well, hemp cloth is much better than hemp. That's what we've got hemp for, to weave it into some cloth. So he threw away his bundle of hemp, and he collected some hemp cloth. While the other guy said, nah, this is good enough for me. And the other guys, they went a bit further, and then they found some flax, and then some linen, and then some silver, and then some gold. And one guy was always ready to let go of what he'd been holding for a while to get something which was more valuable. While the other fellow said, no, I've carried this for such a long time, this is me, I'm going to keep my hemp. And when they got back to their village, one guy had a bundle of hemp, and the other guy had a bundle of gold. And the guy with the hemp, he really got scolded and kicked and abused by his family, you stupid guy. While the guy who got the gold was very, very well received and became very popular. And the simile was that why is it that we can't let go of old views? To see something which is true is because of fear. We've had this old view for such a long time. Sometimes we're proud, this is who we are. We can't let this one go. And it's a lot of fear as well. That fear, that attachment stops you seeing things as they truly are. So even that fear has to be overcome. You are so still, you're courageous to see things you don't expect. And one of those things you will see, and I love doing this just to tell you how powerful this Dharma is, to see that you are not in control. That this thing behind your will, the thing which decided to scratch its nose right now, or scratch its ear, the one who decided what you had for breakfast, the thing which even chose to come here, you really think that was you? Ha 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 ha. But to even contemplate that that is just a totally conditioned process. There's no one in there pushing the mouse and clicking it, no one driving the wheel, no one pulling the levers or pushing the buttons. There's nobody in there. That is scary. I always remember in Singapore, when I first went over there, I used to give talks about the two bad bricks, opening the door of your heart, the worm in the pile of shit. They love those stories. But then one day, like most people, say, look, can't you give us something more deeper than that? We've heard that before. And so, right, I'm going to hit you. And I gave a talk one night, just like I talked to the monks, keeping nothing back about non-self. And the guy who asked for the talk the following morning came to see me and complained, don't do that again, Ajahn Brahm, I didn't sleep all night. I really got to him because he was scared. Challenging some of his deepest attachments. Now this is scary stuff, but it's true. If you're going to find out the truth, who you really are, rather what you're not, you've got to be courageous enough, with no desire to prove what you already know, not in denial to a truth, even if it is scary, to see it. That's why even simple truths, simple insights, which you should know but you don't, about your death. Don't talk about death again, Ajahn Brahm, it's scary enough. I will die, that's for sure. I will die, that's for sure. That is scary, and you do that on purpose. To go through that, and please be so committed to truth that you're willing to sacrifice everything for the truth. Sacrifice every view, every idea, everything you've ever thought was true for what's really right in front of you. It's Because of such things, I said that Buddhism, real Buddhism, not the traditional superstitious type of Buddhism, the real Buddhism falls into the category of the types of religion which bends the faith to fit the truth. You never allow your knowledge to stand in the way of truth. Everything you've ever learned, heard or believed, you're willing to abandon that for the sake of truth. Never allow your knowledge, your learning, your beliefs to stand in the way of truth. The other way is you bend the truth to fit your beliefs. The truth is right in front of you. It can't be true. I'm imagining it. It can't be true. My husband can't be a nice guy. I know you say he's a nice guy at Ajahn Brahm, but you never lived with him. I live with him. I've divorced him. You don't know what he's like. Please, don't be like that. So, when you can be still, and when you can abandon those hindrances, no desire, no ill will, courage to face the truth, that is an incredibly powerful thing to do. But that's what happens when you come out of these jhanas. You're just invincible. That's how you feel. Think you can do anything. Nothing will harm you. And you can just face the truth, even though it turns you upside down. What you thought before, you realize, gee, I was so stupid. You actually see things as they really are. You can't do that without the deep meditations. That's why people who say, oh, just do vipassana, forget about jhanas, you're going to get insight just by focusing on the body. Yeah, sure. No way. That's just so superficial. And it's also why we teach people to practice like this, to get so deep in meditation, so still, so joyful, so happy, but you come out afterwards and everything is so clear. The leaves on the trees, brilliant. The shit in the toilet, wow. Everything is incredibly beautiful. And you can stay with it for a long time. And there's no preconceived ideas, you're empty. So at last you can actually see things as they really are, not as you've been taught, not as you believed, not as your teacher says, but as they really are. And that is real insight. And what sort of things actually happen? I love telling some of these stories. This story number 1, I called it the driverless bus simile. And it's a very accurate and powerful one, developed by myself or by somebody. You know, sometimes I always thought that I invented these similes. There was one other simile which I thought I invented, the simile of the hand. Because you know, as a monk, I gave up so much. Gave up sex, gave up booze, movies. But you gave up one thing, you start picking up another thing. You started really getting into food. Shut up, leave it alone. And as soon as I put down one thing, I'd pick up something else, just like my hand. I'm always picking up things with my hand. And how can you actually let go and stop attaching to things, stop picking things up? And I realized there's only one way of doing that. Cut off your hand. Because it's the nature of a hand to pick things up. You can't stop the hand picking things up. That's its function, that's its nature. So the only way to stop picking things up, cut off your hand. And for that simile, I meant the only way you can stop attaching to things, grasping things, is cut off the idea of a self. Because that's what the self does. The self will always pick up things, attach to them, and own them. That's what a self does. It's its whole function. Dogs bark, husbands complain, wives nag, chickens or ducks go quack quack. That's just their nature. The nature of a hand, pick things up. The nature of self is to pick things up. And when I thought that simile, I thought, wow, that's a really good simile. And then one day I was looking in the Samyutta Nikaya and I came across a simile of the hand. The Buddha beat me to it. That was really freaky. You know, the hairs come out the top of your hand. Wow. You know, I never read that before. Wow, where did that one come from? Probably past lives, but nevertheless. The simile of the bus. Now that isn't in the sutras, because they didn't have buses in those days. And this actually explains a lot. Many people come to Buddhist temples or they come to retreats because they want to teach themselves to be wise, thinking that if you could train your will to be wise, to be smart, to be clever and skillful, then you won't need to have any more suffering. You think the problem is your will is stupid. It always makes wrong choices and does things the wrong way around. So you come here to make your will wise, smart and clever. So you get all these ideas, the open the door of your heart. Yeah, I'll do that and I'll have much more love and peace in this world. My will, so I won't be so fault-finding. I'll see the 998 bricks. I'll train my will to be more positive. It doesn't work, as many of you will find out. It sort of works up to a point, but it does not go far enough. You won't be able to train your will, no matter how many times you listen to those stories. And some of you have listened to those stories thousands of times. It doesn't work. Yeah, sort of. You get better, but it's always still mistakes. So sometimes you think this will is stupid. And I want to go and teach this will. Will, learn, be clever. So from that idea, I got this idea, an old idea of life being a journey, and I use like a bus journey. And your driver of your bus, called your life, is dumb. Because it happens to you, it happens to me, that sometimes your bus is going through some delightful territory. Beautiful rolling hills, streams, with lots of fish and chip shops dotted around, and lovely tea stalls for the afternoon selling nice Sri Lankan tea with condensed milk, whatever it is which you like. And when you're going through this beautiful scenery, you tell your bus driver, stop, at least slow down, I want to enjoy this wonderful time. And what happens? The bus driver puts his foot on the accelerator and you speed out. Why is it that all the happy times of your life, when things are going well, don't last as long as they should? And then the bus is going through this toxic nuclear waste dump, or whatever else you don't like. And it's so disgusting, so painful, so awful. You tell the bus driver, get out of here, quick, speed up. And what does your bus driver do? Slows down, stops, and puts on the brakes. And you have to be with this pain longer than you should. You think, my stupid bus driver, he does not know how to drive the bus. Your will does not know how to drive your life. Too much suffering, not enough happiness. Why? Come on, it's happy time, relax and enjoy. You speed out quickly. A lot of pain, why do I have to keep suffering? I want to get out of here quickly. And it breaks and parks and stays there for a long time. So, your job, you think, is to teach your will how to drive the bus. To teach it to be wiser, smarter, cleverer, so you don't have to have much suffering, have much more happiness. So to be able to teach that bus driver, you have to get up out of your seat and go to the bus driver's seat at the front of the bus to tell the bus driver, him or her, whatever it is. So that's what the path of meditation is. You go to the bus driver's seat, into the heart of the lotus, where the thing which is running your life lives. Who is making these decisions? Who is in charge? Who is it? And you find that bus driver's seat. Thinking that once I can see that will, then I can teach them how to drive a bus. But when you find that bus driver's seat in deep meditation, that's when you get the insight which turns you upside down. There's no one there. There is no bus driver. The seat is empty. No one's there. Ah! So what do you do? If you see there's no one driving your bus, you just go back to your seat, you sit down, and you stop complaining. No more anger, ill will, guilt, that's complaining. You stupid girl, you stupid man, stupid monk, I'm really a bad monk. You stop complaining, you stop desire, I want this, I want that. You can no one to tell, there's no will in there to say, come on, get me this, get me that, get me something else. There's no one in there. Which means you sit down and you shut up. No more desire, no more ill will. There's no bus driver to tell that to. That is the end of most of suffering. Only anagami, non-return, a bit more, but that's good enough for this retreat. If you want to get the next part, full enlightenment with the psychic powers, come the next time. That is actually what you're doing. Now that is insight. Insight which shocks you. It's not what you expect. And even though I've told you that wonderful story, and you think, yeah, I can understand that. No, you don't. Like that story of Ajahn Chah. Again, you've heard this before, but I'm doing this to reinforce it, to continue the brainwashing. Because there's nobody in there. I was brainwashed by Ajahn Chah, and now I'm brainwashing you back. He was having a sauna once a week in our monastery in Thailand, because he was very sick. And when he would come, we built the sauna for him. It was not just compassion, it was also selfishness, because we could get our teacher once a week to our monastery to teach us. So we built a sauna for him, he gave us a talk, then he would have his sauna. You know what it's like, you experience this. Sometimes I give a talk or someone gives a talk and it really hits the spot. And you feel so inspired, everything is so clear, you sit down, you get into deep meditation very easily. Sometimes you have your best meditations after the morning talk, if the talk really hits the spot. So he gave such an amazing talk, I was so inspired. Instead of going to help him with the duties, I sat down and meditated at the back of the hall by myself. Really nice meditation, really deep. You don't know how long, a couple of hours, an hour, I don't know. But then you come out after the meditation feeling really like $1 million. $1 billion. The inflation has gone up since that time. And I thought, I'm going to go and help my teacher. That was a thought which came up, so I went up to a walk towards the sauna. I realized I was late because he'd already finished his sauna, was dressed and was walking the opposite direction. We were going to meet. Monks have got psychic powers. Ajahn Chah did. I can't explain this, but you knew he was looking right inside of you, reading my mind, because he saw I had a deep meditation. And for once, I didn't mind him reading my mind. It was worth reading after a deep meditation. Most of the other times, absolutely not. So I let him in. He had a good read of my mind, and he stopped in front of me and became very serious. He'd realized I had a very, very deep meditation. So he decided to see if he can prompt me to get insight. So actually to do it, to become enlightened. So he looked at me and said, Brahma Wangso, really quite fierce, so he was holding me. Why? He asked me the question, why? And out of the stillness of my mind, after a deep meditation, I replied, I don't know. I was still a young and stupid monk. Now the great thing about these teachers, the great thing about Buddhism, you never get scolded. Even if you're really so stupid, you get in the Guinness Book of Records of stupid disciples. Instead of scolding me, you stupid idiot, he just laughed. So when anybody makes a mistake, that's a far better response. Just laugh your head off. Because life is so funny when people are stupid. So you laugh your head off. And having finished laughing at me, then he looked at me again. He became serious. He said, Brahma Wangsa, I will tell you the answer. And I got really interested. This great monk was telling me personal, not in a big talk, an individual transmission the answer to the question why. This is going to be profound. And I was really listening, and he said, the answer to the question why is, there's nothing. There's nothing there. There's nothing. And then he looked at me again and said, do you understand? I said, yes. He said, no you don't. No you don't. That was really a downer. And then he walked away. But that left a lasting impression on me. Number one, he gave me the answer. Of course, you can understand it sort of. There's nothing. The bus driver's seat, you go inside, nothing there. There's nothing. Do you understand? No, you don't. It's also saying that you can't just think this. It's not a perception or thing you can philosophize about. You actually see it, and it's not the same. Seeing it is not the same as thinking about it. It's totally different. In the same way that thinking what a beautiful sunset is not the same as seeing the sunset. Totally different. So seeing that emptiness, that just turns you upside down. Something you never, ever expected. Things which aren't supposed to happen. And this is what occurs in your meditation. Scary stuff. So when you get to that stage I was talking about earlier, I see all these lights and stuff, and the wall starts to melt and it gets weird stuff. I was saying that yesterday. It's a test of whether you can just see what's in front of you without getting scared. Just to see and have your whole way of looking at life turned upside down. Walls aren't supposed to melt. White towels aren't supposed to suddenly turn black and then back to white again. This is not supposed to happen. What you're doing, the mind is testing to see whether you're ready to see what you don't want to see, what you don't expect to see. See how courageous you are. And if you really are courageous, things disappear which aren't supposed to disappear. We've got this word for insight called anicca. Too many people, they think they know that word. Impermanence, rise and fall, yeah. Any JoJo can watch rise and fall. You watch the sun come up, you watch the sun go down. You watch the waves go up and down on the lake. You watch the wind come and go. You watch your breath come and go. Yeah, that's not anicca. That's only superficial. Real anicca is this. You're sitting by the lake down there, and you see the waves come up and go down, come up and go down. You're watching the rise and fall of the water, and then soon you become so still, the lake vanishes. It's not there anymore. Nor is the earth and the clay which contains the lake. The trees surrounding it and the sky above it also disappear. It's gone. That's not supposed to happen. That's anicca. Something which was always there, which you've never ever seen before vanish, now disappears. That's what shocks you. Lakes aren't supposed to vanish. What's happening? What's happening is things are disappearing. What that means in your meditation, you're sitting here in this old body or young body, depends on how old you are, and you think you're Norwegian, you think you're Indonesian, you think you're German, you think you're Thai or Sri Lankan, and everything disappears. That's not who you are. You think you're a boy, you think you're a girl. No, you are not. But please assume you're a boy and a girl when you go to the toilet. Every other time, it's just an addition. So, what's actually happening in your meditation? Things disappear. Things vanish which aren't supposed to vanish. That's why I've already told you that when you sit meditation, you follow this method, this instruction, your body vanishes. It's great fun being a teacher, because sometimes people come up and interview, Ajahn Brahm, Ajahn Brahm, it's really important, I've got to see you. Even though I'm not on the list, I must see you. So what happened? I was sitting in meditation, my hands disappeared, I couldn't feel my hands, what's going on? It's only your hands disappearing, that's only the beginning. A lot more is going to disappear soon. If you're freaked out already, you're really going to be freaked out by the end of this retreat. Because they've never experienced before their hands vanishing. And the rest of your body vanishes too. It's not supposed to happen, but it does. There's a wonderful simile from Lewis Carroll, which I wrote in the Happiness Through Meditation, the Mindfulness, Bliss and Beyond book. The Cheshire Cat. And Alice was looking, in Alice in Wonderland, was looking at the Cheshire Cat, which was smiling on a branch of a tree. And the cat kept on vanishing, and then appearing again, and then vanishing, and appearing again. And Alice said, Cat, all this coming and going so quickly is just causing me to be dizzy. Okay, said the cat, I'll vanish slowly. And then the cat started vanishing, bit by bit. First the tail disappeared, and then the legs, and then the body disappeared, just leaving the head. And then the ears disappeared, and then the whiskers vanished, and then the eyes vanished, until the rest of the head vanished, including the mouth, leaving only a smile. And Alice said, I've often seen a cat without a smile, but I've never before seen a smile without a cat. It's very beautiful English, but that is perfectly accurate to what happens in meditation. I think it was just like coincidence, but when I read that I thought, wow, that's a great simile, because that describes what happens. Your body vanishes, little by little, just like the Cheshire Cat. Your legs vanishes, your hands vanish, your body vanishes, your face vanishes, leaving just a smile, the piti sukha, the happiness. Now when that vanishes, the first time it's weird. Number one, because you're afraid you can't control the body. It's true, you can't control it, you're not aware of it anymore. That's scary, because you don't know if someone's going to come and knife you, rob you, beat you, because you've got no alarm system left. In fact, the last thing which leaves your body is sound. The last line of defense. Just like at night time, the lights are off, but we always like to listen. And some animals, actually, they sleep like cats. They're fast asleep, but their ears are still twitching, because that's protecting them. Subconsciously, they're still hearing. And that's why most people wake up in the morning, an alarm wakes you up. Sound is that one sense, the last one remaining to protect us. So to let go of hearing is the toughest of all. You can let go of seeing, smelling, tasting. Smelling, tasting is easy. Touching is hard, but you can do that. But to let go of sound is the scariest of all. Simply because you have to trust you're going to be safe. My job is to convince you you're going to be safe. Your body disappears, and you're having a wonderful time. Now you understand what the body is. Only when it vanishes. You're having a wonderful time. Why? Because your body sucks. It's suffering. It's a burden. It's an affliction. It's like being sick. But because you've lived with your body all your life, you don't notice that. Your body's like a prison. But because you've been in prison all your life, you don't realize it's a prison. When you first get rid of your body in meditation, in a beautiful nimittas, there's no body anymore, you can't hear, you can't see, smell, taste, touch. Wow, that's such a wonderful experience. Now you understand what the Buddha meant by suffering. You've let go of something, it's disappeared, and it's so free. You've walked out of jail, now you know what freedom is. But as I said to many people in the interviews, it's one of the scariest things for a person who's a prisoner to walk out of jail after 30, 40 years inside. They've got used to jail. It's their comfort zone. That's why you have to be very courageous if you're going to get insight. The deep peace and stillness, the energy, gives you that courage. You let the body go. So nice not having a body. You sit here perfectly happy and peaceful, not having to go to the toilet, not having to scratch, not having tummy ache, gut ache, all the other aches which we have. The body is, bye-bye body, now you are a little bit free. It disappears. And then you go, you see this beautiful light, the mind. And then you go really into that. And everything becomes very still. This is the second jhana, where your will stops. You can't do anything. Even if you wanted to, you can't. That thing which you can recognize as choice, will, has vanished. That is freaky. At least, you let go of the hearing, but at least you've got choice. But imagine I take your choice away from you and you can't do anything. Taking your control away. That is so close to you, it scares the shit out of you sometimes. It's that scary. I've come to take over your mind. Ah! I haven't come to take over your mind. No one has. You're just letting go, that's all. And in that meditation, when you come out afterwards, you have the data, the experience, to understand who this person is inside of you, making all these choices. This is where the other famous simile which I developed, the tadpole and the frog. Once there was a little tadpole, and she was born in a lovely lake somewhere in Indonesia. And she grew up in the lovely lake, eating rice and curry. And she went to school, and she did very well at school in the lake, so she went to university. And because she was a Buddhist tadpole, she went to the temple, she learned all about water. She even went to Abhidharma classes on the nature of water. And she heard these very, very wise monks and nuns talk about the essence of water. And she even did a PhD on water in chemistry class. But do you think little tadpole could understand what water was? Intellectually, yes. But not really, no. No more than a fish could know what water is. Because it's been there all its life. But with a tadpole, the way the tadpole differs from a fish is one day a little tadpole, she grows these little legs and arms. She grows into a frog. And one day little tadpole, now Mrs. Frog, is just playing around, and she jumps outside the water for the first time in her life. That is freaky. Imagine what a tadpole, now a frog, would feel. This is totally different. Never before in its life has it experienced something like this. It's scary, but there's something which was always there is now missing. Something which it had been surrounded with is absent, has disappeared. Ah, says Miss Tadpole, now Miss Frog, that is water. Now I understand what water is. That strange thing which is now missing. That's how you understand what will is. That strange thing which is now missing. That's why you understand what your body is and its five senses. That strange thing which is now missing. This is called insight. That's the only way you can do it. It's going to happen to you. And don't worry about being scared. Yeah, it is scary. But the great thing about this path is not that it was made by the Buddha, it's just fortuitous, sort of. But the deeper you go, the scarier it is, but the more fun it is, the more bliss. And it happens, as I've said to many people in interview times, it happens, you get across this transition period, going deeper in your meditation, and it's scary. But it's so nice. Oh, I can't do this. This is just too scary. But wow, I really like what's on the other side. Like in the door to jhanas. So what happens? You just really don't know whether you should go in or not, because it's very, very frightening. There's so much bliss. I can't, but it's nice. No, it's terrible, but I want to. And it's the joy which pushes you over, or rather pulls you in. The sheer bliss is what overcomes the fear. At least, for many people it does. That's one of the functions of the Piti Sukha meditation. The more bliss, the more that's going to take you deeper past fear, past attachments, into these amazing states of disappearance. Places which you've never been to before. Weird but real states. Nothing like you had before. Incredibly ecstatic. And you come out afterwards, something was missing. Something which I always thought was part of me. It's not there anymore. Things like my will, my body, my senses. That's where you get the insight from. That's how it works. And little by little, whether you like it or not, even if I have scared you this morning, you're still going to go for it. Unfortunately, it's too late now for you. You've heard this. Sooner or later, many years, next lifetime, whatever, the seed has been put in there. You're going to get out of that lake and see what's Ajahn Chah, there's nothing there. Just an empty bus driver's seat. That'll give you great insight. You'll become one of the Aryas, one of the enlightened ones, and have a wonderful time. It's not your choice. It's too late, I've brainwashed you. Waste of time struggling. You have to let go now. Sorry. So that's the talk this morning on insight. Any questions? If you want to run away, doesn't matter, it's too late. You'll come back. Okay, there we go. And this is why we teach like this. Deep meditation. Letting go all the way. Even just getting into these jhanas, it's all about non-self. If it was self, then you would put effort in, strive. Have you ever noticed the more you strive, or the more other people strive, the more they control, the bigger their egos? You may have a boss at work who's just this big control freak, because he's got a big ego. You find that people who understand the Dhamma let go. They've got small egos. Which is why that to be able to do this path, you have to let go, not strive. That just builds up a stronger sense of self. Just let go, make peace, be kind, be gentle. Whatever you experience, this is good enough. Very good, very good, very good. That takes away all this effort, which has all come from the ego, trying to get something, trying to make something out of yourself. All that just is all part of ego. The very path of letting go, being kind, being gentle, just chips away at the ego from the very beginning until you disappear. And then you can get into these jhanas and have the time of your life. So, off you go. Disappear. Get lost. Vanish. Thank you for listening.